Hi Bettina, great to see you.
Adam, great to see you.
Thank you for the session today. Really good discussion. As always, there's never enough time to talk, so I thought it'd be great to have some time with you one-to-one. Love to know, maybe before we get into some of the themes, any key takeaways from the sessions that you've been a part of today?
Well, the day is still unfolding, of course, but no, listen, there are quite a few issues out there, and I would say the number one for me is how centerpiece the issues of talent are in the world today. We hear it's both the number one worry of employers, of CEOs. The famous question, what keeps you up at night? Well, it's the talent, of course, the talent piece. But also if we look at governments, when you see how they assess their competitiveness and when you see how they plan the future in terms of where they're going to get, for instance, the whole greening of the economy solved from. If you think about also broader issues around talent shortage. So for governments as well, this talent issue is the number one. So I find it incredibly relevant so far. The fact that there were people from many perspectives as well was very enriching.
Yeah, I think for me, seeing some of the conversation/debates, the deltas between government perception versus others was fascinating, especially on the topic of flexibility. So I think I mentioned in my session around 81% of the US and UK businesses are fundamentally changing their workforce policies, and 72% of talent professionals are saying flexibility is number one. Just love to know your further thoughts around flexibility and really what the WEC and agencies themselves can do to sort of harness and foster more flexibility in the workforce.
Well, at World Employment Confederation, and we've both been around for quite some time, flexibility has always been at the heart of actually what the members and what this private employment solutions industry is about, right? Now what's interesting, and you know that the organization is an advocacy organization, so it's been speaking to policymakers around what should a well-regulated labor market look like. And for years, when we said, well, flexibility is one of the anchor and the cornerstones, we were met with great resistance for sure, and there was almost a fear because of what was thought to be negative connotations of flexibility. Now here we are, you said it, LinkedIn, obviously all your data shows it, and actually Adam, we have our own campaign at World Employment Confederation where flexibility, is one of our 3 hashtags in the Working for You approach. Now, the way we see it is that it is one of the key elements, of course, for individuals, of course, for employers, but for labor markets, it's one of the solutions in terms of also bringing diversity and inclusion, which is one of the big other topics to the labor market, because it opens the doors to so many more people who so far have been further away from work, who've been at the border lines of the labor market for various reasons. But the flexibility, whether it's regarding to time, whether it's regarding to the workplace, whether it's related to what type of contract you have, brings many more people to work and to employment, which of course is what everybody's looking for per se, and therefore, we're very excited about the opportunities ahead.
And I think the diversity piece is absolutely key, unlocking that potential. I think I shared that 41% of women are more likely to engage and respond if you have flexibility, agility, well-being, and overall care, and we're seeing a material response on that as well. There you go.
And for years we used to say, well, women are one of the big cohorts, of course, that need that flexibility. It's a childcare piece, unfortunately, still mainly, it's just, on the women's shoulders, the family piece, the parents caring, etc. It's maybe also just a different way of approaching work now. This goes beyond women, but this is where the flexibility piece was always put forward as one of the issues that needs to be solved. And now it seems as if, okay, we finally, we've been able to accept that, and now we're able to look at the whole picture from a different angle.
So just going back to the resistance piece, it was fascinating in one of the conversations where we were talking, everybody was sort of endorsing that flexibility is absolutely paramount, but we had voices on the stage saying, well, flexibility, we're here to make sure that the security and insecurity could be perceived as a bad thing. How do you change the sort of hearts and minds of sort of government and policy around things like that? Because I feel that there was some resistance in the room around that.
Yeah, and that comes, I would say, still from just ignorance, right? Not knowing.
Yeah.
And of course also from the fact that there are players out there that are abusing the system. It is absolutely clear that there needs to be a security piece. It's the other side of the coin to flexibility. That's absolutely clear. And again, just to underline, we by now, after so many years, have the data that the most secure form of flexibility is agency work, right? Yeah. It's one where, again, your contract will allow you to determine how much time and in which type of employment relationship you want to be as such, with that security that comes with it. So, it's almost a given to me right now, these days, that this goes hand in hand, but you're right, Adam, this needs to be still put on the table as one of the key elements paired with flexibility.
So one of the things, Bettina, we discussed in the session was around the different generations. I think, obviously, and quite rightly, there's huge dialogue around the pandemic and how that's transformed the talent economy, but also one thing that's happened to major effect is the entrance of generations into the workforce. So we're going to have like 44% of sort of millennials and Gen Z into the workforce by 2025, and I think that's materially changing things. Just love to know your view on how you think employees sort of handle that sort of generational unification. Are you seeing it? Are you seeing that it's high on the agenda of governments, of employees themselves?
Well, we love the data that you're able to pull from your LinkedIn sources there. What I find interesting about this discussion and this new way of looking at it is that we, as an industry, have always been looking at young people entering the labor market, and actually, we've been over the years known to be, and we have focused on being a stepping stone for young people into the labor market. In many countries, a good 30-40% of workers who we provide employment opportunities to are under 30, which I believe applies in the definition here. Yeah. And so for us, the conversation around multiple generations at work is one that we're accustomed to. As a matter of fact, we even think that we have a responsibility, as I just said, in bringing young people to different opportunities. Now, what we also see, though, is that people are working longer, and that's where the multiple generations at work piece is of course coming into the picture. That's a very interesting one, and to be honest, with the visibility we have, we think we have to differentiate, starting with the industry, because there will be different ways depending on the sector of how that is going to actually work out. Maybe just very obviously the more old-fashioned sectors like the financial services or the insurance industry might have a few more issues with having more generations at work. At least we see there's a few cultural elements there. Then there's certain industries where age, of course, also implies experience. The healthcare industry there is a good example, I would say, where, of course, again, we're looking to bring young people in, but one has to understand there's still, I guess, certain hierarchies as well. In the services industry, it might be easier, to have these multiple generations and to also feed off the different inputs and skills that every generation brings.
And do you think there's an education or knowledge gap there? Because I think one of the things that I heard loud and clear today was that the world is complex, but it's also quite demanding on certainly middle management to manage all these different dynamics that are going on in order not just to attract, engage, but also retain talent. There's so many facets to think about. Do you think there is a knowledge gap in learning how to understand all these different generations and also set up like team norms within the business to make sure that everyone is engaged, they are cared for, and they are skilled and developed? Well,
great question. I'd love to see any organization that can claim that they figured it out, right? Or actually any person. So yes, I would say there is a gap. The question is now, does one see that as a threat or as an opportunity, right? I think the fact is that all the rules are being rewritten, and that our approach to how these different generations at work should connect with each other, and then how decisions are being made, and how behaviors, should be judged, again, are well, new territory, right? So I think definitely a new way of having to look at things causes great challenges for leaders and their approaches to leadership, and those different generations definitely open the door to that. I mean, more and more organizations see leaders that are younger, right, than their team members as well, so that's another element. So this is the new reality, yeah.
And I think we've now got sort of 74% or something, of 21 to 40-year-olds now in these positions of decision and influence, which is fascinating.
There you go.
And I really like your viewpoint around opportunity. I was only speaking to a customer the other day that actually they'd had a negative experience with generations, and the younger generation had asked for flexibility because they actually had a side hustle, a pursuit of doing videography. They said, no, that doesn't fit into our regime, and actually they lost the individual. They actually went back and reflected as to why, and a new individual joined and actually made the same request, and they said, actually, we're going to let you do your photo shoots. And the fascinating thing was, and I know we've talked about this today around skilling and like formalized skilling, but actually that individual pursuing their own individual hobby and side hustle actually came in with new skills that they never thought of, and they never had in the business. And I think that's fascinating around how do you actually embrace that flexibility and the natural upskilling of people's personal pursuit as well. Of course.
No, I mean, overall, flexibility is opening up so many more fields. The beauty is we don't even know how to capture all of that yet. Yeah. So those employers who will be able to have an open mind and indeed, look at things maybe from other angles as well. And ideally always ask the questions and listen, don't come with your preconceived, this is how things should be. Those will do the best, clearly. But absolutely, I mean, human resource management these days, I think, is one of the most exciting fields. Yeah. And I'm not saying, nobody knows what they're doing, but the overall approach is definitely one of having to be very open and very flexible as well in how you apply the different techniques that exist.
And I think businesses that lead with trust and empower teams and individuals to kind of define their own working structure are actually getting ahead, because you're seeing teams that are creating their own norm patterns, their own working environments, and that sort of freedom and framework, as long as it connects to the cultural tenets of the business. And I think that sort of modern view around embracing that is where businesses will get ahead.
That's incredibly important, what you just said, the trust piece and the culture piece. That's why I hesitate a lot of times to answer in this generic way when I'm being asked about where the world of work is going, what flexibility is doing to organizations and to people. At the end of the day, one actually has to break it down, sometimes all the way down to teams. Everybody says it, there is no one size fits all. Yeah. I can confirm that. And you can have the best organization laid out on paper, if you don't have the culture then, which needs to imply the trust piece, the interpersonal piece. And actually, Adam, today one of the outcomes of the conference is we need love as well in the workplace, and we need to be able to also express that love. You're not going to get far anymore. You're just not. You can try it, you can continue to work with those models, but you've indicated people will move away, they will run away. So
people want this authenticity, they want care. Tech is allowing, tech and automation is allowing individuals to let their sort of processes be driven by sort of the fundamentals, but actually that's giving back time, certainly for like agencies to ultimately take care of humans as well.
Oh no, absolutely. And that's what agencies know how to do best, right? I mean, the bottom line, and personally I love technology. I'm embracing it from every angle because it gives me the freedom to now focus even more on that human aspect, on the person, on looking at what is the cultural fit, on creating the connections that need to happen for productivity, for output, for economic gain to happen and to unleash.
So Bettina, one of the things that I've really taken away and seen in the last months is that the agency in recruitment has never had a more vital and pivotal role to play, and we heard a lot today around it's a profession. Just love to know your view around that whole topic and what the industry and the profession can do to upskill, up-level and play this more pivotal role.
Well, Adam, let me say in complete objectivity, not biased at all, as president of World Employment Confederation, representing this amazing profession, as you say, that indeed I'm immensely proud of the path that this sector has been taking over the past years. We've stepped it up. We've been here, and we are here in times of crisis. We've been here through COVID, and we are here now in those times of uncertainty where both businesses and workers are looking for guidance in this world of work. And we've been here by being extremely ethical, and I think it's important to point that out. Why? Because unfortunately there's still players out there who are not, and that's why I want to differentiate between us who are the compliant, the ethical professionals who obviously at the core look at serving the worker and at serving the client. And we've done so also by pushing ourselves as a sector to keep up and to be ahead of what HR is about. So I have wonderful examples in many countries where the recruitment profession is becoming more professional, whether it's in Ireland, for instance, where our friends of the ERF, the Employment and Recruitment Federation, have introduced an entire apprenticeship up to the bachelor path specific to recruiters, whether it's in South Africa, where I actually just joined the graduation party of about 200 recruiters who've gone through a real stringent process, whether it's in France, whether it's in Germany, of course. As you can imagine, the German skilling system is applied to recruiters as well. Other countries too. The United States is the latest one where, again, very elaborate training and education paths have been built for recruiters. So it's a sector that is very serious about what it's about, and it's a sector that's clearly looking to be there in the future as a partner to all these stakeholders in the labour market.
And I'm too very proud to call it my profession. I think one thing that I know you love LinkedIn data, so what's been even more pleasing to see is not just the path and the progress, is we've seen a material shift in the skills that are being acquired or sought after. It's fascinating to see the new skills that recruiters need to have and that workers are looking for, and those are things like empathy, ethics, psychology, data, insight. So For me, that's a really pleasing indicator that the future is more on the advisory, the support, the care, and that's actually being converted into the profile of the future recruiter.
Absolutely, no, and it's an indication both again of the professionalization, and you know it's tough as well, right? We need well-rounded, amazing people to be in that industry, in that profession, to take others by the hand. And as you say, if we get to be that advisor, what nicer profession would there be in the world?
And fulfilling.
And fulfilling, for sure.
Great.
Thank you so much for having me, Adam, and the team.
Enjoyed the conversation.
Can't wait for the next one.